game called The Legend of Ni. I'm Emma Yaud.
I'm Nehemiah.
And I'm Jackie.
And we're the Knights of Ni. So for our game, you will be playing as Xavier, an eccentric explorer/knight who has found himself stuck in a castle. And to get out of the castle, he has to solve puzzles and eventually defeat the main boss at the end and escape. So for the design of our game, we decided on an 8-bit puzzle platform where the genre of the game is a 2D RPG medieval style. And one of the other purposes besides solving puzzles is to defeat enemies with ranged attacks. And some inspirations we got was from Fireboy and Water Girl from Cool Math and Mega Man.
Now moving on to the mechanics of our game, we wanted to stick to a traditional platform game that you can play on a browser. So in terms of movement, we implemented WASD, so that allows you to run as Xavier or jump. Additionally, as a knight, he can shoot arrows that can interact with the surroundings or damage enemies. And additionally, we implemented a power function just to vary up gameplay. So in terms of power toggle, you can see that Xavier can vary up the projectile and the distance that he can launch the arrows with. So with that, we thought that it would be a little bit more fun instead of just like a straight line arrow. Moving on to the current dynamics of the game. So with the arrows, we implemented a random function. So as a scavenger, you can go around and scavenge the arrows that appear randomly on the map. Once you collect these arrows, you can use it to interact with the surroundings. So for example, you can hit buttons like that just happened. So when you hit the buttons, it interacts with other surroundings as well, such as opening a gate. And another thing that we implemented in terms of dynamics is also a spring. So you can jump on springs to access hard-to-access platforms. So we thought that all these features would vary up gameplay. So for example, right here, you can't move through until you hit the button, and then you jump on the spring. And finally, with the arrows, you can also damage enemies. So those are our core dynamics of the game. In terms of our current aesthetics, so we design all the art ourselves. So we feel like it really promotes a feeling of exploration and adventure. Emma did a great job of creating Xavier in all the maps, so it's great. Additionally, with the puzzle elements to the game, we want the players to feel cheerful and creative when they actually solve the problem. Moving on towards the more audio side, we also implemented background music. So we have like hardcore rock music playing in the background, so you're kind of energized when you're like shooting the bad guys. And finally, we have sound effects. So when a character is damaged, they say ouch. And when you shoot an arrow, it goes swoosh. Yeah.
So during game development, we ran into a lot of challenges, technical and non-technical alike. I'll just briefly describe some of them that we ran into. So as you guys know, just learning the capabilities of Phaser was one of the challenges that we had. Figuring out what capabilities it brought to our game and how we could create a game so that it utilizes all the strengths that Phaser has to offer. Another challenge that we faced was creating our game in an object-oriented design, in an object-oriented way, and making modular code and having separation of responsibility so that we had reusable modular code that we can reuse in multiple systems. And lastly, another challenge that we had was understanding the asynchronous programming paradigm. So basically how to create events, attach listeners to those events, and have the game working asynchronously. So moving on to the non-technical challenges, of course, as we all know, we're all taking other courses, so we had a lot of other time taken up during our day, and we had conflicting schedules, so meeting up was kind of difficult during the day, and we didn't meet up as much as we probably should have, just because we're all so busy. And when we did meet up, it was not in ideal times. We're usually like at 9 p.m., which none of us really want to do. So, and also, so going along with that, we also had other coursework, so we're all taking other classes, so we all have other labs and homework and other extracurriculars that we're doing, and that was a challenge to prioritize this class instead of other classes. Lastly, none of us really have that much gaming experience. We're all pretty much moderate gamers, so in order to implement some of the aesthetics that Jackie was talking about, it was kind of difficult to have a framework of like, because we didn't have that framework of other games that maybe implemented these same aesthetics. So that just involved more research on our part before actually developing the game. So now I want to talk about what's going well. What's going well is that we're a pretty good interdisciplinary team. We all have strengths in different disciplines, and pretty much combining those disciplines together, working on different elements of the game development process has helped us boost what we've been producing. Second, we've been completing sprint objectives. Pretty much, we use Trello as our product management system. And pretty much everything that's in the sprint backlog at the beginning of the sprint ends up in the done backlog by the end of the sprint. So we've been hitting pretty consistent on that. Lastly, our team meetings have been efficient. We always come in with an objective. We work efficiently with that objective in mind. And at the end of the team meeting, we always have a next objective for the next meeting. And that keeps everyone focused and on the same page.
So what could have gone better? So because we all have busy schedules, like daily scrum meetings weren't really happening consistently. And with communications, we have good communication, but not great communication. There are some days where we like don't talk at all, and then at team meetings, that's when everything gets done. And as usual, procrastinating is also a big factor. We tend to push everything off to the weekend, which stresses us out and doesn't produce as high of a quality of a game as we would like.
So to recap on the lessons learned, what we really want to focus on moving forward is utilizing everyone's strength. So this goes back to what Nick was talking about in terms of making sure that everyone's on the same page. Additionally, since we're working on a team, we have to be team players and also communicate consistently. So those were just some of the lessons that we learned through this project. And are there any questions?
All right, thank you.